Okay, so just to briefing you on the presentation outline, I'll be starting with covering what is meant by the term climate change, and then to understand the science behind climate change, then finally to examine the effect of climate change on different parts of the planet Earth. What is climate change? I'm sure most of us understand what climate change is. That's why we are here. But if you don't, you are in the right place. Climate change is defined as a long-term change in the Earth's average weather conditions of a long period of time, usually 30 years, caused by the release of greenhouse gases, notably carbon dioxide and methane, that trap heat in the atmosphere, or you can define it as a significant and lasting change in the statistical distribution of weather patterns over periods ranging from decades to millions of years. These gases can be released through natural causes or human activities. This picture basically illustrates what climate change is or where we are going. I think we are almost there. We are almost there. We are coming from there, we are almost there. Next. In terms of climate change, not everyone agrees that climate change is a reality. There are a number of people who believe that scientists are just talking about nonsense. Some people, including politicians and a few scientists, do not believe that climate change is happening. They argue that most scientists have got their facts wrong and that global warming is not real. Others believe that global warming and the climate change are occurring, but they do not think that human activities are responsible. How many of us in here believe that climate change is a reality? So those who didn't raise their hands, you are denialists. It is important to know that 97% of scientists around the world agree that the rapid and increasing global warming that is being observed is largely due to greenhouse gas emissions caused by human activities. Vast amounts of evidence has been collected to support this view. So I'm going to talk about causes of climate change. This is just the outline. So climate change is caused by natural causes and anthropogenic causes. These are the human-induced. In terms of anthropogenic, we have chemical fertilizers, deforestation, increase in vehicle usage, causing emissions of greenhouse gases. That means to say industries, emissions of carbon dioxide. Then natural, we have solar variations, ocean currents, forest fires, volcanic eruptions, meteorites. So what causes climate change? When energy from the sun is reflected off the Earth and back into space, or when the Earth's atmosphere releases energy, the planet cools down. But when the Earth absorbs the sun's energy, or when the atmospheric gases, the greenhouse gases, prevent heat released by the Earth from radiating back into space, the greenhouse effect, the planet warms. A variety of factors, both natural and human, can influence the Earth's climate system. So I'm going to first speak about the natural causes of climate change. Forces that contribute to climate change include the solar variation, volcanic eruptions, and changes in naturally occurring greenhouse gas concentration. In terms of solar variation, it is believed that solar variation can cause climate change, like the normal solar radiation that is emitted by the sun. If it changes, whether it increases or it decreases, if it decreases, the Earth or the climate will become cooler, but when the radiation increases, then the Earth will become warmer, resulting in global warming. Volcanic eruptions, these ones, they emit a lot of volcanic dust, which form sort of a layer or a fog, and this fog, it prevents or reflects solar radiation, resulting in the cooling of the climate or cooling of the Earth. Then we also have changes in naturally occurring greenhouse gas concentrations. These ones can also contribute to climate change. But records indicate that today's climate warming, particularly the warming since the mid-20th century, is occurring much faster than ever before and can't be explained by natural causes alone. According to NASA, these natural causes are still in play today, but their influence is too small or they occur too slowly to explain the rapid warming seen in recent decades, hence attributing the major climate change to anthropogenic activities. So I'm going to speak on the anthropogenic causes of climate change, the human-induced climate change. So humans, more specifically the greenhouse gas emissions we generate, are the leading cause of the Earth's rapidly changing climate. Greenhouse gases play an important role in keeping the planet warm enough to inhabit. That is at the optimum concentrations. But the amount of these gases in our atmosphere has skyrocketed in recent decades. According to IPCC, concentrations of carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide have increased to levels unprecedented in at least the last 800,000 years. And indeed, the atmosphere's share of carbon dioxide, the planet's chief climate change contributor, has risen by 40% since pre-industrialized times. So the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas for electricity, heat, and transportation is the primary source of human-generated emissions. Then a second major source is deforestation, which releases the sequestrated carbon into the air, which is why we also advocate against this deforestation. It is estimated that logging, clear-cutting, fires, and other forms of forest degradation contribute up to 20% of global carbon emissions. Other human activities that generate air pollution include fertilizer use, a primary source of nitrous oxide emission, livestock production, major methane emitters, and certain industrial processes that release fluorinated gases. Also this picture illustrates the amount of emissions that industry is responsible. Imagine emitting this amount of greenhouse gases every day. Where are we headed? So, in continuation, so there are greenhouse gases. There are many greenhouse gases, and each with a different ability to trap heat, known as its global warming potential. Carbon dioxide is the greenhouse gas responsible for greatest amount of warming to date, and the majority of carbon dioxide released from the incomplete combustion of fossil fuels, like coal. Other important greenhouse gases include methane, nitrous oxide, black carbon, and various fluorinated gases. Although these gases are emitted in smaller quantities than carbon dioxide, they trap more heat in the atmosphere than carbon dioxide does. So the ability to trap heat is measured as the global warming potential. As the most common and abundant greenhouse gas, carbon dioxide has a global warming potential of 1. So all other global greenhouse gas warming potentials are compared to it. Fluorinated gases, for example, have global warming potential of 1,000 times greater than carbon dioxide, meaning that pound to pound, these gases have much stronger impact on climate change than carbon dioxide. So this pie chart illustrates the main human activities that release greenhouse gases. As you can see, green there, electricity heat production contributes about 25%, where agriculture, forestry 24%, industry 21%, transport 14%, buildings, construction 6%, and other activities 10%. This was adopted from IPCC. Then, greenhouse gas contributions to climate change. Carbon dioxide from fossil fuel use contributes the majority, 57%. Then carbon dioxide from deforestation and decay of biomass contributes 17%, while methane 14%, nitrous oxide 8%, and fluorinated gases 1%. Highlights of climate change impacts locally and globally. Climate change results in a warmer climate, especially here in Zimbabwe. In the global north or the northern countries, warming results in less snow, more rain, melting of glaciers, more winter floods, less stream water in the summer, more wildfires, damage of river channels, decreased plant life, so on. I'll speak about this later. Impacts of climate change. As climate change transforms global ecosystems, it affects everything from the places we live, to the water we drink, to the air we breathe. Climate change is already having visible effects on the world. The earth is warming, rainfall patterns are changing, and sea levels are rising. I'm sure we have experienced this in Zimbabwe already. These changes can increase the risk of heat waves, floods, droughts, glacier melt, and fires. Increased heat, drought, insect outbreaks are all linked to climate change, and declining water supplies, reduced agricultural yield, health impacts in cities due to heat and flooding, and erosion in coastal areas are additional concerns. The picture illustrates how melting of glaciers in the North Pole will affect the polar bears. If the warming continues, what is going to happen to the polar bears? Are they going to become extinct? This also illustrates some of the impacts of climate change. That's the Australian fire that happened in 2019. That one is tropical cyclone Idai that happened in Mozambique and parts of Zimbabwe in Chimanimani. So impacts of climate change on Africa. Africa is predicted to be the continent that will be the worst affected by climate change because much of it lies between the tropics and because of its fragile economies and vulnerable populations. The IPCC projects that averaged